Okay, so we're gonna do a basic explanation of how our bonsai tabletop displays came about. Originally, we had displays that had three parts to them. Oh, here, let me do this. We had what's called heaven, man, and earth. Okay, these three concepts are a design, actually, design concept, but it's a concept of art in Japan and China. It's how we arrange rocks in a landscape. It's how they arrange flower arrangements. These three things here, heaven, man, and earth. And they're arranged in, heaven being above, man, and then earth is the lowest part, okay? So, when we're doing a bonsai display on a table, can we roll this back or just cut it off?
Just roll it back.
On a tabletop, we usually just have the two items, man and earth, okay? And man, say we have a bonsai stand, and we have another stand down, Daisa, down here. Raising this up and lowering this depicts man and earth, okay? So on our bonsai display, we usually have man, our bonsai tree, right here, okay? And then the Daisa represents like a grass, or could be a suiseki. It's in the earth position, right here. Okay. We exclude the heaven aspect. Now, if we have a tokonoma, which is a alcove, there may be the possibility of having that heaven in a scroll up here. Kakimono, they call it. And so they have the kakimono, scroll, man, and earth creates that triangle. Okay. But since we don't normally have that on a formal display on a tabletop, we usually have these. Now there's different aspects. We could talk about 2 or 3 item displays, but we're just going to cover this for right now. In a tabletop with two parts to it, the man and the earth, we usually arrange our bonsai trees so that if there's a slant or movement in the tree that implies that the movement goes this way, then we'll have the stand on the right side. And if we have the accent on the left side, we want to arrange it or place it so that the grass blades or the parts of the arrangement goes toward the main tree. So what we're trying to do is create this depiction of maybe a winter scene, like winter silhouette scene, or some kind of spring show or spring feel to it. Wintertime show would be a deciduous tree maybe, and maybe some kind of grass or kusa that's winter looking, kind of winterized looking. In a spring show, we might have maybe a cherry tree, a flowering cherry, or a wisteria blooming. And then we might have a spring accent with little flowers or something, okay? But in any instance, this main tree goes toward the center so that your field of vision kind of ends up in the middle, like this. So when you're looking at your display on the table, you're looking at the main tree, it goes, okay, it's kind of slanting this way toward the center, toward the accent, and the accent should kind of look up toward the main tree. And then your field of vision becomes in the center like that. Okay? One other little thing about this is that your tree, say this is the outline of the foliage. Your tree the extended branches or tips of the branches maybe come down like this. So I moved it over. About right here should be where your accent ends up. You should scoot over a little bit. Okay, that's how I kind of place it. And there's different ideas, personal ideas. My personal idea is that on display, since the accent almost depicts a type of material that's growing at the base of this tree. So you're going along a hike and you come across some big tree here, and along the path you see this real pretty accent. It's like, oh, this it symbolizes that tree at this time of year. So I usually like to put this accent, let's look at it from above. Here's a tabletop. And we have the main tree is going to be maybe like here on this table. Okay, this accent, I like to have it a little bit in the foreground. So this is the front of the view here. So the accent is a little bit in front to kind of represent the foreground of the tree, the displayed tree. Okay? So that's part one. Okay, so this corkbark elm has the way it's positioned here, has a little bit more tendency to move this way.
To your left.
To my left. And normally they're potted right in the center of the pot, but because this one is offset, it makes it feel like it's going this way.
Okay.
This stand here would have been nice if it was a little taller, maybe like this.
Why?
So that we have such a big space that we could utilize more of the space when we put the accent with it.
Okay.
Let me get that other, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea of putting together a formal display is that your main tree should look and lean toward the accent. The accent should also lean toward the main tree. So your vision is in the center of the arrangement. Okay, so we were talking earlier about maybe this should be higher because we have a big table space. It allows us, when we position the accent plant, to pull this out farther. And the position of your accent plant goes down the foliage outline. So it should be right about in here. Okay. Now you notice
the angle of that foliage outline, does that hit the center of your accent or the edge of the accent?
the center.
The center, okay.
Yeah. And you see this stand here? It has a point on this end. That point should go toward the main tree. Okay, and it's nice. It has some interesting undulation. The more interesting undulation should really go toward the front. So this should be like this. We have our accent. And the accent probably should have been a little bit lower and maybe a smaller, but a little bit lower anyway. And
is that for the scale of the
scale
tree?
of this tree to this accent? And also I was gonna say, oh yeah, so this is a unglazed pot. It's nice. We don't have very many parts of this arrangement. So we want to have them as varied as possible. So it's nice that we have a glazed pot with an unglazed pot. We have a darker stand with a lighter stand. So there's contrast. The more contrast, the better. Okay.
So ideally, if we can change a higher stand to fill in the space.
Yeah, a higher stand makes the drop off of the foliage farther out.
And it spreads it. You
So
get to spread it out a
your-
little further.
Spread your accent.
And then looking at the pot, is it's not because it's an oval pot with an oval pot or a round pot with a round pot. That could have been switched to maybe a rectangular or irregular shape.
Right.
Oh, this is too small.
Uh,
This is a little taller.
yeah, maybe that'd be a little better. Also, the pot should go within this framework of the stand.
The window of the frame, or the frame of the window.
It should stay inside there. Yeah, so it would have been nice if, but this is round, maybe this could have been square or maybe like a rock kind of stone pot.
Just try to vary as much of the accents that we have available.
Yeah, the textures, the pots, the stands, all should be contrasted.
How about the accent? You didn't talk about the type of accents. I know. Does it matter what type of accent do we use with certain trees? Especially we live in Southern California. We are blessed with having great temperate temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is a winter, it is a winter silhouette. So what would be a better type of?
Okay, I could bring. So this is a little bit lower accent, and it has a winter color. The purple. Normally, this is a green plant. It's actually a trailing dogwood, but with the winter color, it shows that winter feel, as does the main tree. So.
Trying to match the season, the accent season, with the season that you're trying to photograph.
Right, and it's really acceptable too this time of year. You could have some little bits of brown in there, because the winter snow or something made the foliage brown or, crispy. A little bit of that's okay. It doesn't have to be all cleaned out like a spring show accent. This would be all, this looks like it's more springy looking.
Okay.
Okay.
So perfect. Thank you, Lindsay. So Lindsay, who taught you to do a formal display?
Con Komai, he kind of instigated a formal display for Southern California, actually.
Was Khan formally trained too in Japan, or through just family tradition?
I think he learned a lot from Frank Nagata about display, but also he did a lot of studying too on how things go together. And so this stone here too is, if you kind of look at it, it's kind of going that way toward the main tree, and that's what even the stone is inanimate, but it has a movement to it. So that's why I chose this stone to go toward the main tree.
And that's a hornbeam, I presume, just by looking at
Yeah,
it?
Korean hornbeam. Came from, it was a Yamadori from Korea. Imported from Korea. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the position of the tree, the main tree, and the accent. One major consideration you want to do is have that tree and the accent almost feel like they're looking at each other, either leaning to each other, or sometimes there's flowers. Maybe the flower has a little slant, and you want them to go toward each other, so that your field of vision when you're viewing this arrangement is in the center. Okay, so the reason why we put this tree, this ume tree, on this side is that it's planted in the middle, but it has a little bit more movement and thrust this way. So that's why we put it on this side, so it goes toward the accent. The accent doesn't really have a real definite movement, but this little piece of old weathered leaf kind of gives it a little bit of movement that way. And when we look at the stand has a point, more of a point on the side. The smaller point should go toward the main tree. Okay, so that's why it's over here. We're putting this over here like this. The position between the main tree and the accent, sometimes there's a lot more ramification, and it's harder on a ume to get a lot of ramification. But some twiggy trees, like elm trees, have an outline of twiggy branches. So the outline, when you look on the side where you want your accent to be, should be spaced out. So on the average, the fall of the branches kind of comes down to the accent. This, if you took the outer part of this branches, it would be way out here. But we're going to kind of go like this, sort of like through here is where the accent should fall. Okay, and I usually personally like to have the accent, if it's a green plant, a low plant or grass, a little bit in the foreground of this main tree stand. You want to have contrasting pots, color. There's not many things we're playing with, aspects we're playing with in the arrangement. So we have contrasting pottery. This is a lighter stand and a darker stand, and so it gives us more to enjoy as we're looking at the arrangement.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. You want this from Tea Republic? No, I do not want it. It's sort of expensive. 36 tea bags for $14.
After, thank you.
This is the front door, right?
So, whatever you think, I don't know.
Of course, you don't have to ask.
To
To your left. Yeah.
You can separate them.
So what I was getting from my house, I had a shopping bag full of mail and all the previous owners. I went to the post
Oh, it's kind of going this way.
Yeah.
I said, hey, look, we bought this house and I'm getting all this mail and nobody lives there.
Oh, that's good, that one.
People will work both ways and whatever,
Whatever.
they're looking good.
That's great, yeah. I mean, I was getting names from people, I don't know when they left. Yeah. There were probably 6 different names on coming in there. And the last one was Johnson, maybe it was 10 years. So I don't know who these other people were. There's Davis and.
That's why we brought you, Lindsay.
Crazy.
So let me move the cart.
Yeah, you wanna get the card out of the way. But we'll put Dave in there and give him a ride.
I like these black backdrops too, down at Kofu Kai at the museum show. Every year we've been taking photographs with that black and they come out so nice.
Yeah.
If you
Especially
like
with
cold drinks, there's some drinks in the refrigerator. It's right behind the back
Oh,
rock.
thanks, I'm good. I appreciate the offer.
Oh,
You want to walk us through the process, Lindsay, with a three-point display versus a 2-point display?
Well, yeah, sometimes a 3-point tree display, and when it has another tree with it, it tends to almost signify like a tree in the distance. And so we still have a combination of the main tree and its accent, but we're adding a distant tree. And so this is good because the stands are all different. There's 2 unglazed pots, but they're different shape at least anyway. And this is a totally different kind of container, it's a piece of wood. So it has a nice variety. I think
And does the height, you know how you said the angle of the movement of the tree, how does that play a part in a 3-point display?
Okay, so they're all, these two pieces of material or parts of the display still go toward the main tree. And then this main tree goes back to the center.
We do want to put the name tag.
Oh, so see how even the little grasses are kind of going like this toward the main tree.
One of those hidden gems, a lot of people make
I think that looks good.
46.